Hello, little man. Boy, I sure heard a bunch about you. You see, that was a good friend of your dad's. We were in that Hanoi pit of hell together over 5 years. Hopefully, you never have to experience this yourself, but when two men are in a situation like me and your dad were, for as long as we were, you take on certain responsibilities of the other. Had it have been me who didn't make it out alive, Major Coolidge would be right now talking to my son Jim. The way it turned out, I'm talking to you, Butch. I got something for you. This watch I have here was first purchased by your great-grandfather during the First World War. It was bought in a small general store in Knoxville, Tennessee, made by the first company to ever make wristwatches. Up until then, everybody just carried pocket watches. It was bought by a private doughboy, Ryan Coolidge, on the day he set sail for Paris. This was your great-grandfather's war watch, and he wore it every day he was in that war, and when he had done his duty and come back home to your great-grandmother, he took it off, put it in an old coffee can, and in that can it stayed until your granddad, Dane Coolidge, was called upon by his country to fight overseas the Germans once again. This time they called it World War II. Your great-grandfather gave this to your granddad for good luck. Unfortunately, Dane's luck wasn't as good as his old man's. Dane was a Marine. He was killed along with all the other Marines in the Battle of Wake Island. Your granddad was facing death, and he knew it. None of those boys had any illusions about getting off that island alive. Ah. 3 days before the Japanese took the island, he asked a gunner on an Air Force transport named Monologue, a man he never met before in his life, to deliver to his infant son, who he'd never seen before in the flesh, to deliver his dad's gold watch. 3 days later, your granddad was dead, but Wanaki kept his word. When the war was over, paid a visit to your grandmother, delivering to your infant father his dad's gold watch. This watch was on your daddy's wrist when he was shot down over that Hanoi. He was captured, put in a Vietnamese prison camp. He knew if the gooks ever saw the watch, they'd confiscate it, take it away. The way your daddy saw it, this was your birthright. He'd be damned if any gooks ever got their greasy yellow hands on his son's birthright, so he hid it in the one place he could hide some, his ass. For 5 years, your daddy wore this watch up his ass. He died of dysentery. Give me the watch. I wore this uncomfortable hunk of metal on my ass for 2 years. Then, after 7 years, I was sent home to my family. And now, little man, I give the watch to you.